Hello friends, and thank you so much for joining me. My name is Eric Magwaro. I want to take a few minutes to share on you on counsels on courtship and marriage, and I want to believe that you'll be greatly blessed. You know, someone said a wise man learns from his own mistakes, but a smart man waits for the wise man to make the mistakes so that he can learn from them. So my question will be, who do you want to be? Do you want to be a wise man that learns from his own mistakes, or do you want to be a smart man that waits for the wise man to make the mistakes so that he can learn from them? Now, I really hope you said that you want to be a smart man that waits for the wise man to make the mistakes, because lessons learned from your own mistakes are extremely painful. So please, learn, be wise by learning from other people's mistakes. After all, you can't live long enough to make all of them yourself. You know, the problem with human beings is that we love to experiment so much. It's like if you saw a line full of people and the one in front of you is given a spoon and he inserts this spoon into a socket that has electricity, and you watch him being electrocuted and he falls down dead right in front of you. Then someone gives you the same spoon and asks you to insert that spoon into a socket that has electricity. Now my question will be, will you do it? You know, some people will say, yeah, I want to do it because, that was them. I know my case will be different. Really, who told you that? Listen to what the Bible says in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. The thing that has been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Why are you saying, that was them and this is me, so my case will be different? No, the Bible says there is no new thing under the sun. Actually, 1 Corinthians 10 says, no temptation has seized you except what is common to man. So what I'm going through, someone else is going through the same thing. So please learn from other people's mistakes, because lessons learned from your own mistake, friends, are extremely painful. Have you ever asked yourself how nice it will be if we all trusted God? We are not all knowing, but God is all knowing, and so in his love he has warned us of these things before they happen. But guess what is wrong with human beings? We want to experiment them on our own. Lord have mercy. The spirit of prophecy, listen to a counsel that is given by the spirit of prophecy. The spirit of prophecy says, if those who are contemplating marriage will not have miserable, unhappy reflections after marriage, they must make it a subject of serious and earnest reflection now. This step, taken unwisely, is one of the effective means of ruining the usefulness of young men and women. Life becomes a burden, a curse. No one can so effectually ruin a woman's happiness and usefulness and make it a heart-sickening burden as her own husband. And no one can do 100 parts as much to chill the hopes and aspirations of a man, to paralyze his energies and ruin his influence and prospects as his own wife. Did you hear that? Your wife that you're about to marry, this guy, he or she knows all your weaknesses. She knows all the words to say to bring you back to your mood, and which words to say to provoke you to anger. So please, I request you, before you enter into any relationship with someone, you need to take time, contemplate about it before you rush into it. Now, someone said, if you want to lose weight, you don't need exercise or a diet. You just marry the wrong person. Oh yes. In the minds of many people, marriage is a contract. I would say, but I really want to say that marriage is not a contract, okay? Marriage is a lifetime commitment. And so if there is any subject that should be considered with calm reason and an impassioned judgment, it is the subject of marriage. If ever the Bible is needed as a counselor, if it is before taking a step that binds persons together for life. But the prevailing sentiment is that in this matter, the feelings are to be the guide, and in too many cases, life-sick sentimentalism takes control and guides to certain ruin. It is here that the youth show less intelligence than any other subject. It is here that they refuse to be reasoned with. The question of marriage seems to have a bewitching power over them. They do not submit themselves to God. Their senses are enchained, and they move forward in secretiveness as if fearful that their plans will be interfered with by someone. So youths are showing intelligence in every other aspect. But when it comes to marriage, they don't even want any advice. Someone said that love is blind. I tend to believe that, because when you are in love, you don't even want anyone to, to say anything to you. And sometimes you want to do things in secret because you are afraid that someone is going to cut short your joy. The underhand or the secret way in which courtship and marriages are carried on is the cause of a great amount of misery, the full extent of which is known only to God. On this rock, thousands have made shipwreck of their souls. Professed Christians whose lives are marked with integrity and who seem sensible upon every other subject make fearful mistakes here. They manifest a set, determined will that reason cannot change. They become so fascinated with human feelings and impulses that they have no desire to search the Bible and come into close relationship with God. Did you hear that? But now listen to me, and listen very carefully. But even if an engagement has been entered into without a full understanding of the character of the one with whom you intend to unite, do not think that the engagement makes it a positive necessity for you to take upon yourself the marriage vow and link yourself for life to one whom you cannot love and respect. Now listen, be very careful how you enter into conditional engagements, but better, far much better, friends, better break the engagement before marriage than separate afterward, as many do. And I request you will rather break the relationship instead of breaking a marriage. I really want to go back to the root of this, because sometimes back I long for the days when our pastors used to do counseling for youths before they got married. That used to help a lot, because in the minds of so many youths, marriage is a bed of roses. Love to them is something that you get, and that is where the problem starts. They are expecting their wives or their husbands to do things for them, to love them unconditionally, to always be there for them, to cook for them, to iron their clothes, to take them out, open car doors for them. But in the real sense, that is not marriage, friends. If you enter into marriage with that perspective, your union is short-lived. I can tell you that for sure. Because, friends, love is something you give. Love is not something you get. And listen to this quote very carefully. Boys and girls enter upon the marriage relation with unripe love, immature judgment, without noble, elevated feelings, and take upon themselves the marriage vows wholly led by their boyish, girlish passions. They're like, I love you so much, you are the only bean in my githeri, I cannot breathe without you, all that stuff. But after their judgment has become more matured, they view themselves bound to life to each other, and perhaps not calculated at all to make each other happy. Then you know what happens? Then, instead of making the best of their lot, recriminations take place, the breach widens until there is settled indifference and neglect of each other. To them, there is nothing sacred in the word home. The very atmosphere is poisoned by unloving words and bitter reproaches. That's really sad, friends. In many cases, it takes only a few months for husband and wife to realize that the dispositions cannot blend, and the result is that discord prevails in the home where only the love and harmony of heaven should exist. By contention over trivial matters, a bitter spirit is cultivated, open disagreements and bickering bring inexpressible misery into the home and drive asunder those who shall be united in the bonds of love. Thus, thousands have sacrificed themselves, soul and body by unwise marriages and have gone into the path of perdition. Now, I took time to sit down and prepare some counsels on courtship that if you and me will do well to adhere to, then we might as well reduce the high cases of divorce that is witnessed in our society today. The first counsel number one that I want to share with you is, you need to sit down and ask yourself, what is it that has attracted you to this person that you are intending to marry? And most people will say, she's beautiful, she has a nice smile, he's rich, he's romantic, he's funny, and most of them will concentrate only on the outward appearance. Then I'm going to ask you the next question. What if tomorrow you wake up and find out that that one thing that was attracting you to this person is no longer there? What will you do then? Will you walk away, or will you stay? Now, if you didn't take time to ask yourself that question, then I will say to you that you are not ready for marriage. Because, like I said, marriage is not a bed of roses. Marriage is what you make it. Counsel number 2. Please don't pretend to be who you are not to make people love you. Please, just because you can't pretend forever. A time is coming when you will want to be yourself, and what will happen to the other party. So please, be who you are and let who you are attract the right people to you. Now, if you don't like some type of music, please don't pretend to like that type of music just so you can be around them, so that you can make them love you. Please be who you are and let who you are attract the right people to you, because you can't pretend forever. The third counsel, please be careful to marry your best friend. You know, we all have those friends that, you know, if something is something goes wrong with you, or if you just have an excitement, and human beings, you know, we want to share these feelings with people. There is always that one person that you will always take your phone and call, and you know, after a talk, sometimes you talk for even 3 hours or even 30 minutes or whichever time you talk, and you just feel okay. Please let that be your wife. Marry your best friend. Now, you know, I told someone to find someone like that, and the last thing they told is, you know, you can never find someone like that. Now, please listen to me. If you can't find such a person, I am of the opinion that you remain single, because friends forever is a long time to be unhappy. Okay? It's better to wait long than to marry wrong. Counsel number 4, please marry someone who enjoys what you do. If you are spiritual, please find someone who is spiritual, someone who likes spiritual things. You know, the spirit of prophecy tells us this, and listen to this: an unconverted wife is the greatest curse a minister can have. Please don't go around experimenting that. Just hear it from me. An unconverted wife is the greatest curse a minister can have. So if you are spiritual, please find someone else who is spiritual. And the counsel number 5, please be anchored in God first. You know, before Adam was introduced to his wife Eve, he had a relationship with God, okay? He was anchored in God. And we must learn from this, because if you're not anchored in God, you will always want your spouse to be God, or to take the place of God in your life. You'll want them to love you unconditionally. You'll want them to be always there for you, to heal you, to fix you. And you know, soon enough, you will realize that there's a good God in heaven, and his name is not your spouse. So please make sure you're first anchored in Jesus. You know, when Adam first opened his eyes, do you know the first person he saw? Friends, the first person Adam saw when he opened his eyes was not a wife. The first person Adam saw after he opened his wife was God. He first initiated that relationship with God. Then later, actually, I don't know if you've ever asked yourself, why God? Actually, you know, even when he created Adam, even Eve, when Eve first opened her eyes, the first thing he saw was not her husband. The first thing Eve saw when she was created was God, because Adam was sleeping. I don't know why God decided to do that, because he could have decided to make them together at the same time. But he said, no, I first want to initiate a relationship first. So please make sure you're first anchored in God before you go looking for a wife or a husband. You know, someone said, a woman's heart should be so hidden in God that a man must first seek him to get her. And the vice versa is also true. Now, counsel number 6. Please get healed first. You know, if you have been heartbroken, okay, in the past, and you are hurting, if you have been abused, if your self-esteem has not been built or fostered, and so if you are desperate, please listen to me. If you are desperate, then you are bleeding. And dating is like a sea full of sharks. Please don't go swimming if you are bleeding. Get healed first. You know, because you will always attract a shark instead of a helpmate. And some people say, you know, why is it that the wrong people are always attracted to me? Well, my question will be, are you bleeding? Because sharks can smell blood. So please get healed first. You know, one of the greatest mistakes most people make is that when their relationship ended and things didn't work out, or when they were desperate, right away they looked for a bandage to put on the healing, broken, bleeding heart. You know, in reality, they are not looking for love, they are looking for healing. So the person they are dating, really, they are not dating a person, they are dating a bandage, you know. And when people recover, they usually throw away the bandage. So they will dump you just the same way they dumped the other, because they needed you during the healing process. And so you get hurt and you're like, I thought they loved me. Well, no, they didn't love you, they were hurting. And so they never really needed you. That's why they needed you, because they were hurting. They didn't really love you, but they wanted to use you as a bandage. Now they are healed and you are so insecure, and because you had nothing going on in your life. So please get healed first. If you feel that you are desperate, don't go looking for a husband or a wife or even a girlfriend or boyfriend, because you will always attract a shark. Now, counsel number 7. Please don't marry someone if he promises to change after he marries you. You know, if the person you are doing is, let's say you are dating, is doing, let's say, drugs, and he promises that, you know, I will stop doing drugs immediately you get married to me, please don't marry that person. Now, you know, if Jesus didn't change that person, you are not Jesus. You will not change any person. They will never stop doing anything for you. You know, marriage does not change people, actually, if you didn't know. Marriage only reveals people. If you have a messed up car, you will make it look good during courtship. But once you get married, you don't care how you drive. You just drive, because guess what? Now you got them. You're not pursuing them anymore. And so if you see something, and this is where most people go wrong, if you see something during courtship, something you don't like, please end that relationship. Don't lie to yourself that, you know, things will get better. I can promise you right now, things never really get better. Okay? They get worse. Okay? So please, it is better to break the relationship than breaking a marriage. And this brings me to my next point, number 8. If you are not ready for marriage, friends, please don't date anyone, because why else will you date someone if you are not ready for marriage? Right? Now, you know, if you don't see a future with someone, please don't date them, because why else will you date someone? For fun? You know, if you want to have fun, please find something fun to do. Okay? Don't use someone's heart as a playing ground. And number 9, please make sure you find someone that you are mutually connected to. Find someone you have an attraction for. If you marry someone you are not attracted to just because you are doing them a favor, and this happens mostly, you will find it very difficult, almost close to impossible, to fight what is called lust. Someone said, the beautiful ones are not yet born. Well, I don't know what he meant, because if you ask me, I will tell you that I've seen some pretty beautiful ladies. And if that statement is anything true to go by, what will happen when the beautiful ones are born? So if you marry someone that you don't have an attraction to, then what happens when the beautiful ones are born? Will you dump them and marry someone beautiful? So please marry or get someone that you have an attraction for. That will also help you to fight lust in your marriage. You know, sometimes it happens that you are attracted to someone, but they are not attracted to you. So please don't marry someone that you are not attracted to, even if they are attracted to you. If you do, it will be difficult to solve small disagreements in the house. But if you have someone that you have an attraction for, it's going to be very difficult, because deep down in your heart, you love them and you are attracted to them. Now, counsel number 10, please pay close attention to your tension. You know, if you have no peace without you, that is not the right person. Okay? Don't ignore your conscience, especially when everything else looks right, but it feels wrong. Okay? The Bible says in the book of Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 27, the spirit of a man is the candle of the Lord. You know, sometimes God uses our consciousness, or I should say our conscience, to communicate to us. Okay? He troubles us, and so if you have no peace within you, if it just feels wrong, that's not the right person. Don't marry them. Pay attention to your tension. You know, notice I didn't say follow your heart, and this is where people go wrong. There's a difference between paying attention to your tension and following your heart. You know, the Bible says that the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Not even you can know your own heart. And so when your parents warn you against someone, please don't tell them that you will follow your heart. And this brings me to my next point, number 11. Listen to your mentors. You know, notice I didn't say tormentors, because we have mentors and tormentors. I'm talking about mentors, and we all have the mentors. The Bible says in the book of Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 14, where no counsel is, people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. I'm talking about people who mean well for your being, for your well-being, like your parents, and even your genuine friends. So please, if they tell you that, I just can't, I don't think if this is the right person for you, please pay attention to that, because they will not mislead you. Now, let's talk about counsel number 12 before we go to counsels on marriage. Number 12, the Bible says in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 14, be ye not unequally yoked with unbelievers, for what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion has light with darkness? And this is common sense to those who grew up in rural areas. First, we don't yoke a cow and a donkey together, because a donkey is an unbeliever among cows, and I suppose even donkeys see cows as an unbeliever too. So this then means that you must find one of your kind. If you are a Muslim, please find another Muslim. If you are an Adventist, please find another Adventist. And this is coming directly from the Bible. The Bible says, what fellowship does light and darkness have? Now, even when we are yoking cows together, we yoke cows of the same height and of the same strength together. Have you ever asked yourself what happens if one is short and the other cow is long? That will break the yoke. And so that is just something to think about. Now let's move to counsels on marriage. I'm going to share a few of them, and then I'll bring this to a close. Counsel on marriage. Number 1, please continue pursuing even after marriage. I had a wife asking his husband why he no longer does the things he used to do for her when they were dating. The response of the husband will surprise you. He asked, have you ever seen a presidential candidate campaigning after winning an election? And friends, men, that's where we go wrong, or everyone else, men and women, that's where we go wrong. If you don't water your love, do you know what will happen? It will dry up. Love in marriage is like a fireplace. If you don't put effort to it, the fire will go off. So please continue pursuing even after marriage. Those things you used to do for her or for him before you got married, continue doing those things for them. Number 2, women, listen to me. Ladies, make sure, this is for ladies and wives, please make sure there are no 2 husbands in the house. Make sure there is only one husband. Make sure your husband is the husband and you are the wife. And I believe you understand exactly what I'm talking about. The Bible says, wife, respect your husband. Let him be the head. Let him be the head. Give him all the respect he deserves, and you'll be surprised how happy you will be. Treat him like a king, and he will treat you like a queen. If you want, and this is something else that you need to pay attention to, especially for the ladies and the wives, if you want your friends to respect your husband, respect him yourself, especially in public. I have noticed that if you show everyone that you don't respect your husband, especially in public, I promise you no one is going to respect your husband. And so, because if you don't respect your husband in public, how do you expect someone to respect your husband? And so if you want people to respect your husband, first respect him, and you'll be surprised how that will work out. Now let's talk about counsel number 3. Before when everyone else is married, for the wives and for the husbands, there are always 2 stickers in their minds, and these stickers, the first sticker is called a temporary sticker, the other sticker is called a permanent sticker. Now everyone has these 2 stickers in their mind, like I said, when they get married. So the length of your marriage depends on where you have the sticker. The permanent sticker should be on the marriage, and the temporary sticker should be on the challenges that you go through every day. And I can tell you right now, everything changes when you shift one sticker and put it on the other side. If you decide to put the temporary sticker on the marriage, your challenges will become permanent. But if you put your permanent sticker on the marriage, all your challenges will be temporary. Let's talk about counsel number 4. Make sure you be one. You know, the Bible says in the book of Genesis chapter 2 and verse 24, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. You know, the problem starts when you start deciding which one. The Bible says be one. But if you start deciding which one, that is where the problem starts in marriage. You know, if your husband is on lane 1 and the wife is on lane 3, it is not the decision of the husband to convince the wife that, hey, lane 3 is not the best option. You need to join me here in lane 1. No. And so, you know, they are both to compromise and move to lane 2 to join in lane, so that they can be one. And so they are both to compromise so that no one feels like they had to sacrifice everything. You know, husband, never should you require it that your wife should stop being herself and be like you. When the Bible says make sure you are one, it doesn't mean that the wife has to stop being herself and do everything like you say or be like you. There is something that is called compromise in marriage. Now, compromise, that is the only thing compromise. That's the only place compromise is a good thing. Please don't ever compromise God's truth. But in marriage, if you're in the house and the AC is set to 80 degrees and the wife wants it at 70 degrees, it is good for you to compromise, probably put it on 75, so that none has to feel like they have to, you know, sacrifice everything to make each other happy. So make sure you are one. Now let me take a few minutes to talk about lust. You know, marriage does not cure lust, okay? And if it did, adultery will never exist. You know, there are people who want to get married because they think that when they get married, they are going to be faithful to their wives or to their husbands. I promise you, don't ever see marriage as a sex release. Okay, self-control is still a requirement. Lust doesn't care if you are married or you are single. You may be Solomon in wisdom, or David in praise, or Abraham in faith, or even Joshua in war. But if you are not Joseph in discipline, you'll just end up like Samson in destruction. So please, marriage is not a sex release, and that's why I said when I was talking about counsels on courtship, that's why I said don't marry someone who promises that he'll be faithful to you once you get married. If he's unfaithful to you during courtship, marriage will only reveal who he is. You know, lust makes a man a victim of perverted sex, which damns his authority. Love makes a man a steward of consecrated sex, which empowers his authenticity and authority. So consecration, or if you will, sexual purity, carries what is called authority. Perversion or lust kills authority. And so a man who can't conquer lust will never carry authority that lasts. You know, someone said lust doesn't last. Lust does not last for a short while, lust does not last for a long while, okay? It will end, but love, the Bible says love has no end. And so, a man who can't conquer lust will never carry authority that lasts. Even his woman will struggle to submit, because submission is activated by demonstration of authority through purity. Joseph's authority was protected by his sexual consecration. Samson's authority was killed by his sexual perversion. And so he easily became a victim and a slave of people he was born to rule over once he lost the battle for sex. And so the reason why Satan fights a man's purity so hard with arsenals of pornography and masturbation and perverted sex is because he knows that if he can kill your purity, he has massacred your authority. Your sexual battle as a man is not just about sex, it is about authority and in manhood and dominion in life. And so God is not after killing the sexuality in you. He is after removing the lust in you so that he can give you authority that will last. You know, lust, like I said, does not last. And so this is my conclusion for this study today. Satan is constantly busy to hurry inexperienced youth into a marriage alliance. He is busily engaged in influencing those who are wholly unsuited to each other to unite their interests. He exults in this work, for by it he can produce more misery and hopeless woe to the human family than by exercising his skill in any other direction. So please, I request all of us, let us work together to reduce the high number of divorce cases in our community. Just my last thoughts. Please don't go for looks. Men, don't go for looks. Someone said if a man loves a woman's soul, he will love one woman. But if he just loves a woman's body or face, all the women in the world will not satisfy him. Please, men, don't marry, men or women, don't marry someone because you are doing them a favor. And lastly, marry someone for who they are and not where they are, or what they have, or what they don't have. Please marry someone for who they are. Thank you so much for joining me in this study. The next study I'm conducting will be a series on the sanctuary. Please join me because the Lord has great things in store for you. Be blessed until I see you again. Blessings be upon you. My name is Eric Magwaro.